Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Hey, KB.
Hi, Crystal.
Look at this. Okay, with the makeup. I need to pull it together next time. I'm gonna be ready next time. You look nice. Yeah, okay, so we're in episode 5 of Black Cake, and this episode was a doozy. This episode, there was a lot going on. Let's get into it. The end of episode 4, she says that she has another daughter,
Yes.
and that's it. She just records that yes, there is another all 3 of my children. Yes, that's right. I have another daughter. And that's where it ends.
Yes.
So now we pick up where we have Glenn Turman's character, and we got questions about Glenn Turman's character. Don't you have questions about Glenn Turman's character?
All right, what are your questions? I might not have as many questions as you have.
Okay, I think that my question is, so he was his work colleague of her husband, of Gibbs, right?
Yes.
And then after Gibbs died, he takes on like her financial, anything that she needs, the estate, and helps her. But I just feel like and even the kids have questions. I said, I think that he really was attracted or in love with her. I really think that he just had this connection to Coventina or / Eleanor that he knew was never going to be fulfilled, but he still wanted to support his friend and make sure that she had everything she needed before she passed. What do you think?
I never even thought about that, to tell you the truth. I really didn't. I didn't even think about it. So what makes you think that?
Just there's a little more than just being her lawyer. He came by when her son wasn't there, when Byron wasn't there, moved everything all down in the cupboards to make sure that she was just more comfortable, just, had easy access to everything. And maybe it was just a confidant, but I just got that impression. What are your thoughts?
He might have been a friend. I don't know if he was anything more than that. And I will say I'm a little bit biased, right? Because so the neighbor across the street is also a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is me. I'm being very unclear here.
The lawyer
in my head, I know where I'm talking about, but my mom's neighbor that lives across the street, not my neighbor across the street. So the person across the street from my mom is a lawyer. He's actually the one that swore me into the New Jersey bar.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He also did my mom's will.
Okay.
And he would take care of my mom. Like, he takes care of my mom, right? So if something happens. And so for me, completely biased, I can see this happening without it being romantic at all, if that makes any sense. Right? Like, because I know it's happened in my life. Like, my mom's still alive, but I just know, like, the person across the street also wrote her will.
Okay. So that's just the confidant. That's just it's completely possible that he's just the the ex-partner of the of Gibbs,
Yeah.
and he's just that close to
Yeah.
them. Okay, okay, I'll go with you there then. So we open and he's calling. Well, I'm sorry. We open to Mary Martin, and you know what, y'all? Me and these slides. I have the slide, but I
It's
just
Mabel.
Mabel. I'm so sorry, Mabel.
Yeah.
Mabel Martin, and she is on the phone. Let me get this correct. Mabel Martin. I can't believe it. I literally have written down Mabel, and I called her Mary.
That's
So
okay.
a second.
It's the Eminem.
It is. It's
I don't
the
say,
Eminem in it.
yeah. The
So he's
abbreviation.
calling. He. I'm sorry. When we first opened, that's not true. When we first opened, we see this woman. She's an author, but she's a foodie. She's not a chef necessarily.
Yeah, she's like an
Right.
ethno food specialist
Yes.
person. Hmm.
And she loves food from different cultures, and she's wrote these books, and she's doing all, really trying to um, educate people on culture and food and everything. And she's at an interview, and she's saying how she is a white woman, and she's although she's a white woman, that certain foods come from different places, and we cannot deny certain foods coming from different places and their origin. And so i
Yes.
was i was going along with her at first, and then she got challenged and she said she was a white woman. So I was like, ooh, what
Mhm.
are you going to back this up with research? Are you going to back this up with who you've spoken to, or some things like that? And I said, and then you have this girl that's I don't know, she was an African American woman there, other interviewers, and I said they're going to challenge her, and if they don't challenge her at this dinner, then they will be challenging her in the future in social media. So I was like, this is girl, back up your statements, just back up your statements. What did you think about the interview?
Uh-huh.
Do you think that she was unclear?
I think she was very clear.
I
I
thought she
think
was
she
very
was
clear as
wrong.
well.
No,
Say
I
it
think
again.
she was wrong, but I think she was very clear in her wrongness. Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, I'm following you at the beginning. And then I said, what?
I wasn't. So I will just be very clear with you. Like, I get what she was trying to say. I just
Yeah.
also was not with her, even
Because she
from
was
the
saying
beginning.
that like coffee comes from different places. Coffee doesn't originate in China. Like
Yeah.
she was saying that.
Oh,
It was
so she
right.
was
Damn.
saying that. See, I knew she was going to get challenged from the beginning before she even brought up the Caribbean. Like, I knew she was going to get challenged on
Yes.
the statement, Italy does not have a coffee culture. That was the first statement. And I knew, oh, she's not going to be okay on this one. Like,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
thought she was going to get canceled on Italy doesn't have a coffee culture. And then she like stuck her whole foot in her mouth when she started talking about the Caribbean.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Please understand, I knew that she was going to stick her foot in her mouth when she started talking about the Caribbean, because I was like, "Girl, you don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about."
so I
When she
knew from the
started-
Italy doesn't have a coffee culture. Like I knew from
okay,
right then, and I was like, oh, okay. And then she went to the Caribbean. I was like, oh, whole foot in mouth. Yes.
because my thing is, a lot of foods do originate from somewhere else. So I'm like,
Yes.
yes, you're right there. But then I was
Yes.
like, okay, you've lost me now. Like, I said, so at the
Yeah.
beginning, I was calling her, and then I said,
So
"What are you talking about?" Go ahead.
here's the thing. All right. So like all right, so Italy doesn't have a coffee culture. That's like her one statement, her initial statement, right?
Mhm.
And so we know through history that noodles actually come from Asia.
Yep.
Now, Italy have like they've adopted noodles and made their own Italian dishes and all this other stuff. Like I'm like I don't have a degree in being a foodie, but I'm also a foodie, and I am a very, 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 very amateur historian slash sociologist slash whatever, right? Um, so in her statement, what she said was the beans come from China, right? But then they're grown in Italy. And so if you understand food and you understand like different cultures, the food tastes different based on the soil that's
Right.
there. And so Italy has a certain salt water level that makes the beans taste a specific way that will only be specific to Italy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no accounting for that nuance in her conversation. And also the beans will taste different depending on the region in Italy that the beans are grown. So I just knew she was going to be sunk from that statement right there. Then whole foot and mouth when she went to the Caribbean.
When she went to the Caribbean and started talking about the rum, I was like, girl, just stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. And so,
Okay.
and the rum cake, and I said, you don't stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, now you've lost me.
Yeah.
And
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 then
yeah,
her grandmother was a missionary in Trinidad. And let me tell you, I am from Trinidad, and these people that know somebody that did missionary work in Trinidad, I need y'all to stop. Because they have come back to me and told me how poor and destitute my country is because they did missionary trips and they were like, hey, people are just on the street starving and blah blah. It's like there are hungry people everywhere.
right.
That's number one. Okay. But like you're kind of over exaggerating a little bit about the food. And also, let me say this about missionaries that go to the islands because this is the weirdest thing to me. All we have is farmland. So you
Mhm.
came from wherever to teach us how to farm when all we have is farmland. Like is that not
Yeah,
like
and it
okay?
also adds to the tone
Yeah.
deafness because just as you said, just because one person goes on a missionary trip and goes to one place, that has nothing to do with the whole entire um uh, entity of Trinidad, entirety, excuse me. So and same with Jamaica. You know, people go, "Oh, I went to Jamaica. Oh my God, it's so poor. Oh my God, it's so."
Yeah,
You're
no,
from one spot just because you went on vacation one time, and now you know of the people and the culture and everything else. So yeah, so
yeah, no. And again, the soil and the salt water level and all of that changes the way that the fruit actually tastes and the food tastes. So that also is part of the culture of what the food is,
mhm.
which again she wouldn't know unless she really knew, like how the salt was. And I challenge anybody, if you think I'm lying, eat a grapefruit.
Right.
Eat a grapefruit in the islands and then come back and eat a grapefruit here and tell me if those are the same fruit.
And then she started talking about Asian culture, and I said, "Oh, this is bad." But in the very beginning, like I said, "Okay, I'm gonna follow you," and then you just went totally off the rails, and oh yeah,
She
you don't know. And honestly, the sad thing is, I said, you don't know anything about your history. She doesn't know anything,
no.
but yeah, and I almost felt like just you have it in you that you want to learn these things, but you just did not. But because your parents did not tell you the truth about yourself, you've been lied to. So you've been following something that you shouldn't be following. It's just, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And in that interview, she said that she has roots in Wales and in Italy because
yes,
that's what she believed right at the time. But again, I knew from the Italy doesn't have a coffee culture that she was just wrong.
that she was lying to. Yeah, she's lying to
Not
herself.
lying. I mean, I think she knew. I think she believed she was telling the truth. She was just wrong. It was just
Right.
she was loud and
She's
wrong.
telling her truth from what,
Mhm.
she's been told. So now, so she has this interview, like you said, they're tone deaf comments. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And she's now, getting beaten up in social media. And then she goes and sees her parents.
Yeah.
And they're having dinner, and her mother, I didn't capture the full. Well, I saw the full the full dinner, but her mother says, "You know who you are. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, she does not know she's adopted." When I know
Yeah.
I got that from the interview, but I said, "Oh wow, you're telling this woman she knows who she is, and she needs to believe in herself and all of these things." So, what did you think about the conversation with the parents? The first conversation with the parents, because there's another conversation we have to get into, but what do you think about
Yeah,
the
yeah. Okay, so the first conversation with the parents, this goes back to the tone deafness. She was saying that, she has a degree in this And so therefore she knows more than people, and people need to respect her degree. And again, your degree is in other people's cultures. She doesn't yet know that it's her culture, but it's like, it's not your culture, right? Like, it's just like you just studied other people, but people know, right? Like, there's something like being boots on the ground where it's just ingrained in you and part of your psyche that she doesn't understand. And unfortunately, even at this point, I don't think she'll ever understand. But it was interesting because you see her having this conversation with her parents and her fully believing that she is a white woman. And that was, and them not telling her, and them just going on with their lives with just her not knowing who she actually is.
And not only that, it just seemed like the conversation. So when you say, people need to respect my degree, but have you, and you just said it, boots on the ground, have you actually enveloped yourself into the culture? Have you actually went there and did, besides the research books, besides the, any type of papers that you've written, have you actually enveloped yourself into that culture that you're talking about? So I just feel like she hasn't done that. And that she's been, and her son was the conversation with her son was like, you're privileged, Mom, and I think that he's been really getting it at school. He doesn't know who he is, not only is she's actually mixed. She's not biracial. Her grandfather's Japanese or Chinese. Mother is Chinese. Her mother is Chinese and Jamaican, and her father Scottish. From Scotland, right?
Yeah, I think she's a Scottish man's daughter.
So this is she has no idea. She has no idea who she is, and she's been living this lie for this long. So what happens is, y'all, she goes out, she goes, and the guy that she's on the interview with gives her a call and wants to have a date with her, right? And during this date, she gets a call from Glenn Turman's character, and he just knew that she was adopted. He just knew that she was told. He has no idea that her parents did not tell her that she was adopted. And so she finds out, and she's like, what are you talking about? I'm not adopted, and I don't know anybody in California. So she finds out now, what? I'm adopted? So now says, I need some time with this. I'm not sure about this. Let me take this in. He says, I'll send you an email. And if you would like to meet up later, if you'd like to, talk later, you have some half siblings that would love to meet you. So then she doesn't tell her parents right away, but her looking in this mirror and her like just looking at her facial features and really like taking it all in, and she doesn't know what to do at this point. She's and I think that that's a lot, like to find out you're adopted, to find out your parents have been lying to you for years, but then also to find out you're Jamaican, excuse me, and like there's just a lot of things just hitting her all at once. So she doesn't confront her parents right away. She leaves and comes back, and that's when she confronts her parents. What did you think about the conversation between Mabel and her parents?
Okay, so that threw me for a loop. In particular, the conversation she had with her mother. Like the mother snapping back at her at the end, right? When she was talking to the mom, she asked the mom, tell me about the day I was born again. And it's very clear as you're listening to the story that the mom just skips labor and delivery and just goes to the first time she saw her, right? When my mom told me the story of my birth, what I remember of the conversation, because we haven't had it in a while, she talks to me about her water breaking. And this was not that. It was really just, I saw you and you held my hand and like you did this, and it wasn't like I was in the hospital for 8 hours. I feel like Mabel, as a mother herself, knows what's missing in that story as she's hearing it now again, after learning that she was adopted. She's not only hearing what her mom's saying, but she's hearing what her mom isn't saying, and it's louder now, right? Because her mom isn't talking about labor. Her mom isn't talking about going to the hospital, water breaking, all of the typical things that you would expect when somebody's telling a birth story. And she gets into it about, well, why did you lie to me? I know I'm adopted. And then the mom kind of snaps about her not being a good mother. So that's why I was like, huh? What happened?
Yeah, I absolutely picked up on that as well. And like you just said, when my mother tells me,
Yeah.
retells the story of my birth or any of my brother's births, like she is very detailed in what happened before, when, where she was when her water broke, all of those things, right? And then the fact that she skipped all of that and went straight to when they placed me in your arms, you grabbed my finger, you were crying, I heard you crying, and you skipped all of that. And so, as you just said, she's a mother herself. And so she knows what isn't being said. She knows what's missing, right? And so that absolutely Mabel picked up on that. But then she also um, she also said that no, I'm sorry, that she came from the Italian side of her family, and a gentleman that just the darker features came from the Italian side of her family. There's a movie, and I'm trying to pull it up, and I meant to pull it up before we got on. There's a movie about a girl in upstate New York, born to a Jewish family, but it's clear that that she's half black. It's clear that this woman has had a black child. The father stays with her. I don't think that the father didn't divorce the mother until the daughter was like 16. And I'm going to pull the name because the mother would say stuff like, "Oh, you come from it's a Jewish family. Everyone in the family is Jewish, right? Oh, you come from you get your hair from your uncle so and so. Back in the day, he had Brillo hair. He had the thick curly hair." And so the daughter, she would go along with that for a while, but then after the divorce, she things happened and she started asking more questions and stuff came up. Turns out the mother had affair. Her mother was going into the city, and the mother was volunteering at some youth group and had an affair with the guy that's leading the youth group. And I was like, and I got to pull this because she's clearly black. Like so she's had this identity crisis for years, you know what I mean? And when her mother said that, "Oh, well, you come from, our Italian side of the family, this is where you get your dark features, this is where you get your hair from and everything," where her parents were clearly blonde before the gray came in. So I said, this sounds familiar. You pick someone that just had a little bit of a difference and say, "Oh, well, we'll just tell her that." And so also her father, she said, "Well, what about the family? What about your friends? What about people around you? Um, what would they say? We just asked them to be discreet." And that's when I was like, wow. And that's when she also was like, wow. Like, um, and the sad thing is, Mabel could, I'm not Mabel, Coventina / Eleanor absolutely couldn't have kept her, at that time. Not only was she the product of an assault, but looking the way she looked, it would have been a lot for her. It would have been, and also I don't even know, she was trying to hide. She never told Gibbs that she was assaulted anyway. So yeah, there was a lot to that whole conversation with the parents. And she also said to the mother, she really was hurt by what the mother said. Well, you're lying to, and the mother almost became, not almost, she became vindictive. You're lying to your son. You're not telling your
Yeah,
son
the truth about his father.
the truth about his father. And I was like, was his father Spanish? Like, was his father running from the law? Was his father a mob boss? What do you mean? I don't know.
Like his father was black. Just to be completely honest with you, I looked at that boy and I was like, I think he has a black father. But I also don't know if he knows or not. Like it's because I suspect that's why he doesn't like his school. Because that's one thing is that it's very clear that this boy does not like his school or
Mhm.
going to school. And I think what she did was she put him in this all white school and he's clearly not comfortable. But I think it's because he's black. I mean, we haven't addressed the son like at all, but I just looked at him and I thought, oh, I think he's mixed.
I think he's mixed. I think that, there's something there. There's something, and she's not.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Well, that's completely different." I said, "What's different about that?"
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
But
spoiler, we don't know at the end of the episode either. So,
right.
yeah.
So yeah, so that whole conversation, I really am now interested in what's the backstory with the son, um, and for this woman to be, living a life of privilege, and this happens all the time. You're living a life that you think is honest, and it really isn't. So yeah, so I thought that was interesting. There's going to be more to this because now this is all going to come out. This is all going to come out. So now we go back. I got to go back. So, and we also know, and I meant to take that picture out. She actually had her date with this gentleman, and during the date, that's when she took the call from Glenn Turman's character. But so we know that Coventina / Eleanor was raped, and this is my question. This was the issue I was having last week. Was the time lapse between? I thought that the time lapse between this, her assault, and seeing Gibbs again was a couple of months, but we now know it was like at least 7 to 9 months after giving birth.
Yeah.
So then we go. So now she's got to deal with how she's going to tell her son, and it seemed like she was about to tell him, and pretty immediately, I've just had a fight with your grandparents, and she's like, "What do you?" And her son says, "What are you talking about? You guys are best friends."
Yeah.
So that she's really got to deal with, like, the people that she thought were her parents are no longer, and they never were her parents.
Yeah.
And
And I was going to say, I think that scene was sweet because you can see there's tension between the son and the mother.
Mhm.
And like he's frustrated with her. I think he's frustrated because of the school situation because clearly he does not like the school. So it's the relationship that we see is that he doesn't get along with his mom. He's not that close, but in that moment after she has that fight with her parent, she goes to him and he comforts her without any question. So like he is at least a safe space for her after that argument.
Right. I absolutely think that no matter what, he loves her, but he's just really, he misses his friends. He misses, I think they're from Rome, like he went to school in Rome. Like he misses
Yeah.
all, his friends and the relationships that he had. And now you've brought me here, and my friends know I'm different. They know that there's, and he's not adjusting. And he's probably going to, honestly, not probably, he said he's going to school with a bunch of privileged kids that he cannot
Yeah.
relate to. It's
Yeah.
and okay, so I know that his father died, her ex-husband, or I'm sorry, her husband died. I felt like it was like a year or two, like it wasn't it very recent.
So here's the question. And this goes to what the mom said. Is her ex-husband the father of her son? Because now I questioned it, right? Yeah, because she tells her date that her ex-husband died, but then we never hear the comment that the ex-husband is also the father of her son. So I don't know who the father of her son is. I just know she said that her ex-husband died.
I thought the same thing because she said I met a guy. She
Yes.
didn't say my ex-husband, or she didn't say my husband that's now passed away. She just said I met a guy. So I was
Yeah.
like, huh. So I absolutely thought the same thing. I said, that's not the son. Yeah, I absolutely.
Yeah. It
That's
was
the son,
like, okay.
not the your your ex-husband that passed away isn't your son, isn't by your son. So I thought the same thing. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. But I was gonna say this is also another mirroring thing where she's now mirroring what her, I guess, what her adopted mom did, like where like you're hiding something about the parent.
Yes, I absolutely said now she is also Coventina slash Eleanor in certain ways. Absolutely. She's now um she's hiding, and she's kind of passive a little bit too. She's doing a little bit Byron as well, but she's definitely, I said she's taking on the characters of Coventina slash Eleanor.
Yes.
I absolutely thought the same thing. Like this is so much like your mother.
Mhm.
And I feel like, okay, so maybe that was truly ingrained in her, that she really wanted to, she wants to learn these different cultures and things like that. Like Eleanor just really loved the scents and the smells of Jamaica and all of those things. But
Yeah.
she really she's gone about it the wrong way. She hasn't done her research. She hasn't done what she's supposed to do to get there.
Yes.
She's lived a life of privilege, and and her parents made sure that happened. Her parents made sure and did it that way.
Yeah, I will say she is like, just in this moment, it's like literally Columbusing the culture. And it's to be absolutely corny, like that scene in Pocahontas when Pocahontas is like, what's that? The Colors of the Winds.
Mhm.
Like it's that. Like you haven't seen the Colors of the Wind, so let's not. Like
Right.
let's not do that. Yes.
The way you put that, Columbusing the culture, is absolutely, oh, that's a great way to put it. So you've totally just taken on this culture that you had known nothing about, and you've never cared to truly ingrain yourself into the knowledge and the truth of this culture. So she's got a lot of she doesn't even know herself. She's got a lot of truth to figure out. And so now at the same time this is happening, oh gosh, I got to go back to the Mr. Yes, at the same time this is happening,
Joy.
before I talked about Benny and Steven, I want to go over Miss Benny.
Oh, wait. Before we do that,
Mhm.
let's I'm gonna go back before we get to them. Um, so after Glenn Turner's character talks to her, he goes back to Benny and what's the brother's name?
And Byron.
Brian?
Brian.
Byron.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so they're, Byron's like, well, let's just keep going. He's like, I can't keep going because your mom made it very clear that I have to wait for her to at least consider coming, or like, like the three of you have to get it, or I guess she has to explicitly say no, she doesn't want to listen before they can move on. So he has to
Right.
give her time to consider. Byron's frustrated because he was like, I just want to listen. And then he tries to find her himself to get her to come because he's like, I just want to be finished with these tapes. And then he realizes, because he has his mom's phone, that his mom actually contacted her.
So y'all, what happens is that the phone that his mother's now deceased. Glenn Turman's character has done everything except turn off his mother's phone. Except now that she's passed away, turn off his mother's phone, and she gets a random call from a solicitor, and Byron picks up his phone. Of course, Byron's still missing his mother, right? And he picks up the phone, and it's a solicitor. And so then he starts looking through his mother's phone, missing her, looking at old pictures, and then looking at past calls, recent calls. And he finds out that his mother has been reaching out to Mabel this whole time, has her number, reaching out to her. But and I paid attention to this, that the calls have been going out. So Mabel's probably been getting missed calls for the longest time. She's been getting probably missed calls for the last month. or however long before Clementina / Eleanor passed away. And so now he's got her number because Byron wanted to call her. Byron was like, forget this. I don't care what he's talking about. I want to talk to her. No, we've got to wait. So, okay, so that's interesting. So Byron wants to wait. And then we go to what's her name? To Benny. And Benny says, no, let's hold off on it. I'd rather just let this not be true for a little while, right?
Yes.
So what did you think about that conversation? And go ahead and go into what Benny says.
Okay. So then Benny says that she realizes that her mom has been thinking about this other daughter the whole time, and she used to think that that she came second to her brother, and then she realizes she comes second to her mom's other daughter. She was always living up to the fantasy of Mabel, right? That she could never live up to the fantasy of Mabel. Now, my thoughts are Benny needs to be the victim because I'm still waiting for her to be victimized by somebody other than Stephen. Because I don't see it. I haven't seen it. Yeah, so in her mind, she's always second to somebody in the family. The family hates her. The family clearly loves her. They just want her to live up to her actual potential, not even live up to her potential, because that's not even right. I think they want her to see how great she is, not even living up to her potential, because she just seems to be knocking around doing whatever and not really staying focused on anything. And I agree with the dad, right? It's like you go to culinary school and then you quit to be a waitress, right? And then okay, her dating men and then dating women, like it happens, but also it goes to her not sticking to something, and that's all that they wanted. Like they would love whoever she brings home, honestly, like whoever she brings home, because they were very welcoming of that woman. It was just if you just stuck to something, they would just be happy too. But yeah, she needs to be the victim in something, and no one is victimizing her. She lacks the ability to see other people's perspectives, right? And in her talking about, oh, I can't live up to this fantasy of this other daughter, it's like you do recognize that you were born out of love, from the love of her life. And this other daughter that you think is a fantasy that you can't live up to is literally a daily reminder that she got assaulted.
Right. Yo, as soon as I saw when Benny, this whole episode, I literally texted and said, this girl's getting on my nerves. Because
Yes.
And the way you put it was perfect, because to me, she has to be the victim. And KB also watches another
Yes, watch with me, LEB.
LEB, another podcaster, another reviewer, LEB, and she said, this girl's getting on my nerves. And I said, she is, for you to find out that you are adopted over the phone from a lawyer, you've never met your mother, like that's a hard thing to find out. But she first says that now I know why she didn't love me. Now I know everybody loves you. And honestly, absolutely, they just wanted her to live up to her potential. They just wanted her to know how great she really is. If you just get out of your own way, then Benny, honestly, her father really just wanted her to get out of her own way and just focus on. And I agree with the dad. I absolutely agree. Like, just pick something you can change later. Finish culinary school. If you want to open up a bakery, go to culinary school. And then you got that on your resume. So when you go to open up a bakery, they'll probably give you, you'll be able to get a loan or whatever. Just her father just wanted her to finish something. They didn't care who she dated. They didn't care about any of that as long as she was happy. But she really wanted she saw the negativity in it. She saw, oh no, mom has another child. I gotta, she saw it as something to be jealous about, something not, something uh, to knock her down and hit her self-esteem. And it just, I was like, Benny, what are you doing? And it just really frustrated me because I said, you're the product, and you just said it. You are the product of love. This woman was a product of an assault. And Queen Neka, how are you doing? Long time no see. Are you a married woman now? I think that you should be a married woman now, if I remember. So good that Queen Neka is back. We got to get our panel back. So the fact that this girl is just taken on, I feel like people want to live in their sadness. You know what I mean? There's some
Yes.
people that want to live in chaos. They want to be in a constant state of
Oh, yes.
of just something's wrong, and it gives them peace if something's going wrong. She
Mhm.
is happy in her sadness. And I said, even with when she was dating the girl, this girl said, it's gonna take your parents time. And she totally turned it around and said, no, they hate me. And I said, oh my gosh, so she catastrophized. It's a catastrophe. This is all bad. This is my fault. And my mother hated me because she compared me to this woman, this mystery. This woman was a product of an assault. She doesn't even see it that way. So in that happening, then she leaves and she calls the boyfriend. She's the one that called Steve. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so that right there, her calling Steve, and then Steve again, as you pointed out last time, he said, "Oh, it's good. I'm so sorry, everything's going not going good with your family, but we've got a buyer. Somebody's already signed the contract, and we've got a check for this for your sculpture for your yeah, it was a sculpture of
Yeah.
her, right? He
Yeah.
sculpted her. And I thought that this thing was going to be, I'm sorry, I thought this thing was going to be just amazing. And literally it was about what, 4 feet tall, and I said,
Yeah.
this is nothing. Like, but it was the product of her pain. It was the product of abuse and manipulation and control and all of those things. So then she goes and she says, okay, I still have a key to your house. I'll go and I'll meet you over there. What did you think was going to happen because I know what I thought. So what did you think was going to happen when she got over there?
I didn't think what was going to happen was going to happen, but I didn't want to say something to what you said about her living in chaos. I agree. There are some people that just love to be in chaos. And I think for her, I think this is part of the, like, obviously a bigger conversation. Some people are so familiar with chaos or just feel so familiar that's part of why they can't leave certain situations, right? For her, it's like, obviously, the focus isn't on her in this moment. It's on her mom, it's on Mabel. And then she turns back to somebody who's going to put the focus on her and her chaos, and it's going to be more of a chaotic situation. Because right now we're feeling bad for Mabel, and Mabel just found out, and maybe, so now the focus is all the way back on Benny, and Benny needs to be back in chaos so that somebody can feel bad for her, save her from it, whatever. It's just she just needs that attention.
Oh, that's a great point. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and another point that this other podcaster, this other reviewer said is that she asked her subscribers, is she like this in the book? And they said, yes, she is like this in the book, that she's just happy in her chaos. She needs to be the victim. So, and that's so interesting what you just said. So now we've read this. Now she's got another daughter. Now the story's on this daughter that nobody knows, this mystery person. Oh no, when's it going to be about me? When are they going to care about me? When is the focus going to be on me? So then she goes and she calls her abuser.
Yes.
I didn't think that what was going to happen was going to happen. So I thought several things crossed my mind. One of which was like, I saw that he was leaving the house, but I said, is he going to get back early and she's going to find him in bed with somebody else? And then there's going to be a fight. I didn't think it was going to be this. I was like,
yeah, I will say the last couple of minutes of the show, I did not see coming, like, at all. Like, none of this at all. I could not have predicted any of this.
None of this. Absolutely. So we're skipping a part. So while this is happening and she's on her way to Steve's house, Byron goes and talks to his girlfriend, Lynette. So they're having a conversation, and I think
yeah, we should talk about that part. Yeah.
So Byron goes and here's Byron, and I did not find a picture of Lynette, but Byron is talking to his girlfriend Lynette, and I feel like it's a long time relationship. And I really want to get your take on this, because so Byron's telling Lynette what he's found out. She knows that his mother was assaulted. Now there's now a mystery daughter out there. He's got a half sister, and Lynette's like, oh my gosh, her assault, and he's like, I can't think about that right now, and all of those things. Right in the middle of their conversation, he gets a call from his new boss, and there's a panel on diversity in oceanography, diversity and so of course they asked him to lead his panel. He's on family leave because his mother's just passed away. So they're like, hey, I know you're on family leave, but this panel's right up your alley. Can you take the job? And she reminds him, you're on family leave. You should, and I appreciate her saying, you're on family leave. There's a lot happening going on in your life right now. Don't do this. But I really want to know. So she got mad and said, why don't you stick up for yourself? And among other things. So I really want to know what you thought about their conversation, because that's a whole new conversation. That's a story for another.
That's another layer. Okay.
Another layer and another panel. That's a lot to unpack. Go ahead.
All right, so I have thoughts about him agreeing to do the panel while on leave. I don't think he should. So I just independently have thoughts about DEI, just in general in the workplace, especially in fields, because I do a lot of that for my company, and I feel like I'm not. So I'm not even gonna say obviously. Like, I'm not the DEI person. I'm just the Black person that gets asked to do a lot of things, and I will say no. And I will tell you, I was actually on PTO, and somebody was like, "Oh, we're doing diversity recruiting. Can you do it?" Absolutely not. I'm on PTO. So no, they should not have asked him. I knew exactly why they asked him, because in the first episode, he says he's the only Black person. So that's exactly why they asked him, because he was the only Black person. And for anybody that's listening, if you're Black or if you're white, or if you're purple, Chinese, whatever, let me go ahead and tell you, you don't have to do DEI. I feel like it's, for me personally, this is me just going on a little sidebar rant. It's annoying that as the Black person in the job, what's added in your job is DEI, because you don't ask anybody else to do it. The reason why you ask us to do it is because we're Black and we're supposed to do all the outreach stuff. And then the other people that don't look like us don't have to do it. But you should start asking them, right? Because if the culture is going to be inclusive, show that it's inclusive. So make everybody do the DEI work. So it's not just like, oh, we have a Black person, so that one Black person is going to be your friend. Make it seem like, oh no, all the white people agree with DEI work too, and we're all here.
And we're all inclusive and all of the things. And I was like, y'all, why do I have to be the answer to what's going on? What what is wrong with the world and the Black community? Why do I have to be the one to stand up and do all of the things? No. And I'm a
Yes.
PTO, I'm on family. Yeah, I absolutely. He should not have done it. He should not have accepted it. He's on family leave. Don't do it. Besides that, that immediately hit me. But also, why do I gotta be your answer? Why do I have to that just really frustrates, excuse me, now I'm getting all tongue tied. It really frustrates me that, oh, you just now you pick the Black person.
Yes.
So now I got to be the
Yeah, but
answer.
you know
Now
what
I
you're
got to
doing.
be to do the dance for you. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. And
No.
then now I got to be the one that makes your company look good. No,
Mhm,
no.
mhm. And they know what they're doing, because this is the other thing too that I don't think companies do it. And I call out performative DEI work, even in my own company, because I'll be like, that's performative, and we're not. Like, I'm not participating.
Mhm.
Um, because it's like you want the Black person to be out there. But let me ask, what seems more like, he's clearly not the boss. So would it seem like the company actually cares if you get the one Black employee to do it? Or what if it was the CEO
Right.
that was doing the outreach himself? Doesn't that seem more impactful than the
Absolutely
one
better.
Yeah. So I listen, I call it out. I call it out. I call it out. And I remember, even in my company, we've changed this. So if you know me in my company, I will tell you we changed it, but I called it out early, where I said, whenever we have DEI stuff, it's always these two people that send out these emails. And I was like, are you the designated white people to care about Black people? Because why doesn't
Yes.
anybody else say this? So yes, it's something that bothers me to my core and will get me riled up. Now, about the conversation with the girlfriend, I have two positions on this, and I want you to tell me what you think is fair.
Okay.
Right? So, either she's being unreasonable, right, and just asking him to step way out of his comfort zone, and trying to push him to be more radical, and that's just not his personality. Or, hear me out, he complains about this a lot, and she's just like, then do something about it, and like be more radical. Like, your father was this person, and here you are, because clearly he talks to her about it, right? So maybe he's talked to her about it just one too many times, and she's just like, either stand up for yourself or stop talking to me about it. Because that there might be, and I didn't read the book, but there might be an inkling of that, because the way it's presented is that she's very radical, and she's trying to get him to all of a sudden turn into like Malcolm X, a Black Panther at work, whatever. But also maybe he's got a little Benny in him, and he's been complaining a lot, and we just haven't seen it, because we don't know a lot about the brother, but he clearly is talking to her a lot about his problems at work.
I think that he's definitely bending her ear about what's going on at work, and he was really counting on this promotion, and when he didn't get it, it really knocked him down several pegs, and we knew that it was clear prejudicial.
Mhm.
So him definitely, the pillow talk has probably been extensive, but I also think this is not how he moves. This is not how he conducts himself. So she wanting him to be this radical and stand up and or quit your job or do something or say something, and he doesn't work that way. I said, if he were to do that, just jump up and quit his job, you're going to get a different, he's going to get even more depressed and even more inside his head. It's not, that's just not his personality. So but the way she put it was, I want you to stand up for something. I want a man that's strong, and I don't have her exact words, but the way she put it was like, I need you to stand up. The person that I met when we first met, you were this person. You were the
Yeah.
person that you fell for. So that tells me that he gave her the impression, I'm here because I want to make a difference. You know what I mean? And now there's a kind of a passiveness about him. I don't know that. So I don't know that I would have just totally walked out on him. I don't know that but I also know that he's a poor communicator. Like if he would have said to her,
Yes.
I can't just do it that, and what did he say? I have to toe the line, or I have to, I don't know. I just feel like the way he said it, I was like, why don't you say, listen, I'm going to do this for a little while, and I have to be the person to make the change so I can get more Black people in at the table. He didn't say any of that until she grabbed her coat and walked out and said, don't walk out on me. I was like, this is, if you want her to stay, and if you got to show her that you're ready to, that you are ready to make those changes, they're ready to make that fight. But he's just, there's a kind of a passiveness. Now, the passiveness may be because his mother just passed away. He's still grieving his father. He's now found out he's got a sister. All of these things are piling on him. And this is just how he's handling it. But I feel like maybe the word she used was a little strong, but I see her point. I absolutely, it was like,
Yeah.
you cannot let them keep doing you like this. That's what I was like, don't take this job. Don't keep doing this to yourself, because you don't want to do it. And you know that you'll never get ahead. In his head, he's like, if I keep doing this, I'm never gonna. He's been working for this promotion for 10 years, right? He said. So in his head, if he's there's just kind of a passiveness about him. I'm like, you cannot let them keep doing this to you. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it seems like he's been this passive for a little while, even before his mom passed away. And I don't know when or why he adopted this, but it definitely was very clear to me, like that whole accepting to do this diversity thing while on leave. So it shows two things, right? It's the fact that they knew that they could ask you,
Mm-hmm.
and you said yes.
Yes.
Right? And it was like it's even them knowing to ask you. Because if you're the manager, there's a whole HR that's like, don't bother somebody on leave, but they knew that they could.
And I was about to say, they'll never go to somebody else if you keep accepting these jobs. They'll never go to the HR person. They'll never go and create a diversity panel or they'll never hire these other people if you keep doing this job. They'll never do that because they have you. They have you to kick around and get take these jobs on your while you're on PTO. So yeah, and and we've said this before, that he mirrors his father a little bit, but we don't know so much about Gibbs either. But he's more like his father, and Benny has kind of got traits like her mother that we're finding out now that, so there's just I definitely think, and I also, because of, the lies, excuse me, he's been having to take everything on.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like also, Black men just be strong and take care of things. Just be strong and take care of it. I believe that Gibbs probably gave him that impression, or Gibbs, while he was alive, was like, be this, strong person. And he's just been strong and stoic. So he's been holding everything in. And so when you hold everything in, it explodes.
It does. It does. Yeah, even to the point of, I'll go back to the first episode when his mom got sick and he texted his sister and said, Mom got in an accident. She's okay. No need to come. That wasn't the truth. You were lying. And you are resentful of your sister for not showing up. And he takes it in this passive aggressive way out on his sister, but like you're just kind of eating things up. And so it's something that's still in him. Like he's doing these things and he's taking on responsibilities that he doesn't need to take on all by himself. And it's building up.
Right. So he did say, Mom got into an accident. You don't need to come. So his sister unfortunately, yes, she absolutely should have come anyway, but she didn't because little does he know she's dealing with her own stuff, but she didn't come. She should have shown up. You know, your
Yeah.
mother gets in an accident, you show up, you call back, you do the things, right? And she didn't. So he's dealing with that. And then, it's just, he's doing everything and he's taking everything on. So now back to Benny. And she goes to the house. She goes to Steven's house and uh she sees the sculpture and she proceeds to take a bat. Is it? Or like
Yep, it was that.
it was a bat? Okay, she proceeds to take a bat to this sculpture. Did you think, I did not think that that's what she was going to do.
I didn't either. Right. I didn't either. Right. So I'll let you finish with that whole scene because I have thoughts. But go ahead.
So she broke this sculpture into a million pieces, basically. And then she but she walks around the house and she breaks this thing into a million pieces. And then and then of course, and I knew when this happened, when she did this, I said, girl, get out the house. Steven is going to show up. I knew that this was going to happen. Of course, this is this is the next step, is for Steven to now show up in the middle of her breaking the sculpture that he was about to sell into a million pieces. And then she drops her location pin to her brother and says, just in case something happens to me, this is where I am. And he's like, get out the house. And I'm yelling, girl, get out the house. Like, right. So then she goes and she approaches Steven and she's like, this abusive, you've been abusive, you've isolated me, you've manipulated me, you've messed with my self-esteem, told her all the things, everything true, but this is the man that beat the hell out of you a couple years ago when your father passed away. So in my head, I'm like, why now did she get a backbone? Like I did, and I get why, because she wanted to be about her, like we said earlier. But at the same time, I was like, what? Why now? Why didn't you? So what did you think about what she said to Steven?
I was confused.
I was confused. Why now? What are you doing? Just break it up.
I am confusion. Yes.
I thought break it into a million pieces if you want to. I do, again, did not think that was going to happen. Break it into a million pieces and then get out the house, block him, change your number, and run away and leave. Just if that's what you want to do. But I was like, this is not what I expected to happen.
Yeah. The problem I have with it is the call to the brother in between, right? So you call your brother in between. Hey, I met Steven. Okay, so remember, again, if you take into consideration somebody else's point of view, you just told your brother that this man beat you.
Yes, that's
the conversation. I'm in his house. If something happens to me, this is the address.
Right.
How do you think your brother was going to take that?
Absolutely. But KB, remember when she said, so finally, she's finally trying to tell the truth and be honest. And she's trying to now if I need something, I can lean on my brother. Now and I said, wait, why? What are you doing? And this is now you decide to drop your location pin after you tell him the truth, after you told him that this man beat you up a couple years ago. I said, you know what's going to happen. And my brother, I've got 3 brothers. That's absolutely not all my brothers would do that, but 2 of them would. So absolutely, that's what would happen. And he would go and get in his car, and this absolutely what would happen. So I'm confusion. What part? I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I am too, because I have a brother. If I ever told him that somebody hit me, I didn't even tell. So I know you have a story of your brother sticking up for you, right? Mm-hmm. Like I know you do, because we all do. Like we have brothers, right? One guy, when I was younger, maybe I was in high school, I can't even remember how old I was at this point. started this rumor that we had sex. My brother came and grabbed him by the neck and got him off of the school bus. You hear me? That's my brother.
Right.
Off of some rumor, not even somebody touching me. If I called my brother and said, "Hey, this guy that I just told you hit me, I'm at his house. If something happens to me, this is the address," I know he'd be there.
She's like, don't
Like
do
I
don't
know he'd be there.
just in case something happens to me, here's my location. What? My brother.
Yeah. This was the
I don't even remember. I think I was in middle school as well, and their kids were like, we were all playing right outside my house, and he saw a boy hit me. My brother had huge hands. He's 8 years older than me. Literally went like this and put his hand on this kid's head and grabbed him by the head like this, and said, "Don't touch my sister." Like I was like, "A girl, what are you doing?" Like,
yeah. No, so it's that because again, we know our brothers,
Mhm.
right? And let me be very clear for anybody that's I didn't even tell my brother that the guy said that we had sex. I told my cousin. My cousin told my brother.
Right.
And then my brother came up to the school. I didn't even tell my brother because I knew then not to tell my brother.
Right.
But she told her brother this and then turned around. It was all big and bad. Like, yes, Steven, and what? I broke. Because that's the part. I was like, wait, so to your brother, you're scared for your life. And then to him, you're like, and what? I broke this statue. Now with you. What?
It made no sense to me. I was like, "What are you doing? Get out of the house."
Yeah, either you're scared or you're big and bad, but you can't be both.
I said, when did she get a backbone? Like, why do you pick this time to get a backbone? And like, okay, so this sculpture is a product of the abuse. Got it. I'm with you on that. But don't stand there and get big and bad and get in this man's face. This man beat the hell out of you. So now you're getting in his face, and there's nobody in the house. There's no cameras, no nothing to prove that he's beat you up. But before that, you call your brother and tell your brother, "Oh, I'm at this location." You don't think that he's going to come and help you? You don't think that he's going to come and try to rescue you? It was just I was like, "Wait, what is happening? Why are you doing it like this?" So then, y'all, so she leaves, and Steven, of course, goes and chases after her. I still think this man's gonna hit her. I still think like he's gonna knock her out. I did not. So that's why I still think he's
That's
gonna
why none of this makes any sense. Go ahead.
and grab her and grab because she then leaves. Or did she drop the bat between this time from the hallway to the sidewalk? I still think this man's gonna grab her and pull her back in the house. I still think so, right? So then she gets out, and then he, of course, the waterworks start coming, the sob story starts coming, and he does the love bombing again. And you're right, you're so much better than me, and da, 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 I'm all of the, I'm everything you said I am, and everything. And then she starts crying. I said, "Oh Lord, she's going right back to him."
Mhm.
And then, of course, Steven is running through driving through the streets, breaking all kinds of laws to get to his sister, to defend his sister.
Yep.
And she's sitting there.
Yep. So again, this is the part that I don't. Before we get to Steven in Byron.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, the scene with Minnie and Steven doesn't make sense to me. So she gets off the phone with her brother. Hey, if something happens to me, this is where I am. Then jumps bad to Steven, like, hey, you're this, you're that, and I'm done, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, remember, he sold this sculpture for a lot of money.
Yes.
Like it was something $1,000. And now it's gone. So now he can't get his money. So instead of him being mad back, he's like, "Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm horrible. I'm such a bad person." I was like, what? That doesn't even make sense either.
Yeah, because in my head, I'm like, she just broke your cash cow. I absolutely believe that Steven is somebody that's into some creditors for a lot of money, has done all kinds of, I mean, and not just because of the abuse. We all and during the first scenes that he see the like you said immediately something
Yeah.
I said immediately I said he's gonna manipulate her. He wants, of course, to get her into bed. But I said he's her manager and just gonna take her for all she's worth, all the money. I just thought that, and then of course find out he's abusive too. I just know. I said that you're right. I absolutely thought the same thing. Like, wait a minute, now you're hurt and want her to come back to you. I thought that this man was gonna beat the hell out of her. Honestly, even after she walked out, I said he's gonna drag you in by that hair that he made you change. I just thought he's gonna beat her up. And then for them to be sitting on the sidewalk when Byron walks up. What did you think of that? Like, oh gosh, now we about to get into it.
I knew we were about to go back through this toxic cycle again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was again, he got her back. Like she got right back into it. But like right back into the cycle of the, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. Oh my gosh, Steven, I get like I didn't mean to hurt you. But okay, we're back. You can tell they're back together, and this is now the cycle. And then Byron comes up, and Byron's did what brothers do, right? He did what brothers do, and I'll be even more specific. What older brothers do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he beat up Steven because
Mm-hmm.
that was predictable. Right? If there was anything predictable in this moment, it was Byron beating up Steven.
Byron was going to
That
beat the
makes
hell out of
all
Steven.
the sense in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that made sense in this whole scenario, because now you told Byron what really happened, why you didn't show up to your father's funeral. So now she tells you that she's at Steven's house. So of course your brother's going to go in to rescue you. And of course, and also the second thing that made all the sense in the world is Steven calling Byron out and saying all of these trash things to Byron. All of that.
Yes.
Now you got it back. Now he wants to talk crap to Byron. Now you or where are you? I want our family. I'm this. I'm that. And I said he provoked him. And y'all, so now we're on the sidewalk and on the
Outside.
street, outside, and Byron is just beating this man down, just beating him,
Oh,
beating him up.
let me add fuel to this fire for anybody that's watched it or hasn't watched it. Benny, with her stupid behind, is telling Byron to stop.
Byron, stop. Byron,
I'm
stop.
just gonna add that to that. I'm just gonna add that fuel to that fire.
Yes. Byron,
Benny,
stop. I was just
Benny who started all of this is telling Byron to stop.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Byron, stop. I'm trying to make sure he's okay. I'm just sitting. We're just talking. Wait. Now you're crying for this man and you're trying to tell your brother to stop beating up the man that beat you up? Yes. And then, so y'all, I yell at the TV, Byron, you are a black man. I said, stop. I'm yelling at the screen. And of course, it's present day. Everybody's got cameras. And honestly, that scene, that honestly, we did not predict that this was going to happen. But that scene, you see the lights first, and then you see the cops, and then you see everybody with cameras. I said, Byron, you just lost your job. Yeah, I said, you just lost your job.
I had the same thought. He lost his job right away. Yeah. Because of Benny. I blame Benny.
Absolutely. It's honestly, Benny's toxic, but it's all about her, and she had to and it's all about her. Now it's chaos again. Now she can feel complete. Now she can feel calm because the chaos and the stress and everything else and all of the other things. Now she's complete because because what's his name? Byron has lost his job. Now all of the bad things are happening around her. Yeah.
Because it's going to draw a wedge between her and Byron. Because it would for me. Because there's no way you're going to tell me that you're in danger, and then you stick up for your abuser over like that. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's gonna drive a bigger wedge. And again, in true Benny fashion, she's the victim in all this, right? Because she's like,
Absolutely.
she has to be the victim, and the attention is all on her. Because now we don't even care about Mabel, and Mabel was the biggest thing of this episode, but it's not anymore because Benny needed all attention to be on her, and now it is.
And now Steven is beaten to a pulp, and now he can get sympathy back from Benny.
Yes. Yes.
Now he can go and turn the blame back to her, and she will feel like it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's back with her abuse. It's just, oh.
Yeah, she recreated the cycle, right? So so she's back with Steven. He's now sympathetic again. Her brother's the villain again. This is why you shouldn't be with your family. Like, it's easy to be like, this is what your family does, and this is what your family doesn't. Like the whole thing all over again, all because Benny.
All because of Benny. All because, y'all, she has had this expression on her face this whole several episodes, and she's just been like, just sad and toxic and the whole thing. And now next episode, we're hopefully, no, there's no hopefully. I was gonna say Byron's lost his job.
Yeah.
And he's now probably getting him out of prison. Somebody's bailing him out of prison, probably the lawyer. And now this guy's probably pressing charges because he's an asshole. Like, it's and it's all because of Benny.
Yes.
And they still haven't talked to their sister. Like, it's just
no.
Yeah. And so when they finally do talk to the sister, then she's going to look them up on social media and find out that Byron beat up some art guy. It's a whole thing. So this episode was a lot. Okay, so now let's go back a little bit. What are your predictions? So we talked a little bit about the prediction with Glenn Turman's character. We already talked about that. We talked last week about the prediction, and we don't know who poisoned Little Man. We still got to wait till the end of that to enter the season. That's the main prediction. What are some other predictions you're looking forward to? Because this is another prediction I'm wondering about.
About her coming.
Yeah, her coming. But also, who's her son by is another.
Yes, I was gonna say. Yeah, because we have to wrap up. Who killed Little Man? Who's the father of her son? What are Gibbs' secrets? Because we still don't know. So, and then
go ahead.
I was going to say, at the beginning of this, she also said that she was going to tell her story, and she wanted her kids to go back and tell people what happened to her.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, who's left and what happened to Lynn? How did Lynn die?
I want to know that. I'm absolutely curious about that. That's a great how did Lynn die? And I also want to know who's left, as you just said. But I also want to know, like, do they even go back? Does what's her name, Mabel, go back and find out about their father? How did he die? Because he should be dead by now. That horrible man. So
what happened to her best friend in Jamaica?
Yes, I want to know, and I think that my prediction is the only person that's really probably alive is the best friend in Jamaica right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
And also, did she ever come out? Like, I want to know that story.
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question.
I want to know of how did her life fare out after Coventina / Eleanor left. That's what I want to know. How did her? What happened to that? Did she ever marry that guy? And they had 3 kids, and then after that, did she come out? I don't know. Like, I want to know how her life fared. And I want to know what happened to Pearl, because remember, and you guys, we didn't talk about this scene, and I finally found the scene. Pearl, after Pearl dragged Lynn, Coventina's father, out of the water, and she quit helping Lynn. She was followed home by Little Man's brothers.
Mhm.
So I want to know what happened to her. Want to know how that happened, because honestly, if you really think about it, and also I'm going to put the predictions up of who we think killed Little Man. Um, it's either Pearl. You think Gibbs. I'm thinking that Gibbs might be might have been the might have been the person that poisoned, but they also could be what's her name? Bunny. So that, yeah. So there's
Yeah.
a couple
I
predictions
think
here.
more than one person helped, because I
Oh, yeah.
don't think it was just one single person. I think a lot of people helped, because I definitely think that Gibbs funded the trip, like the boat ticket.
Oh,
Because I remember him saying that he had money, and it was very quick that we had a boat ticket going to London.
I thought that Pearl funded the boat ticket. So that's interesting. So
So
okay,
but it's we have one episode, and now we have
right.
a lot of stories to wrap up.
Yeah.
But because Benny needs to be the focus of attention, we're gonna have to wrap up that storyline and then get to everything else that
Yes.
I personally think is more important.
But I also think you're right about there's more than one person that poisoned this man.
Mhm.
You were saying last week it could be Gibbs and Bunny. I was thinking Pearl and Bunny, but then I just for some reason don't think it's Lynn. But then what if Lynn did because I could see what if Lynn did do it, but then he's still, he's still sitting there, you know, wallowing in just being pitiful because this is all his fault.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So these are okay, y'all. We're full of predictions now. Next week is going to be all about Benny and what's his name, Byron, and him losing his job, and I just Lynette, your girlfriend told you to stick up, to stand up, but I don't think this is what she meant. Like,
Yeah.
this is so bad. This is, I mean, but also, as I just said, when you hold everything in, it's going to explode, and it exploded, honestly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, y'all, thank you so much. Thank you. Hopefully rewatch gang, rewatch this, and please put your predictions in the comments. I really enjoyed this. All right, thank you guys. Good night.
All right. Bye, everyone.